Hello, YouTubers. This is Anonymous T. Hope you guys have an amazing day today. Today, I'm going to be reacting to Kwame Brown's reaction to Stephen A. Smith and his comments on the Brooklyn Nets and how he is upset that the Brooklyn Nets went back on their word and they're now letting Kyrie Irving play on the away games for the team, which is something, sidebar, I felt that they should have just did from the start since he was eligible. And Stephen A. Smith also had said that the Nets ownership was disappointing and that the league needed to intervene and that the league needed to do an investigation into the Brooklyn Nets. And so basically Kwame Brown's reaction was like, at this point, Stephen A. Smith is no longer hiding. Everything that Kwame Brown said about him turned out to be true, that essentially Stephen A. Smith is hired to destroy professional black players' contracts in sports, and that he has a certain rhetoric and agenda that he pushes to make the black athletes look bad, but he never has the same smoke for the white athletes. Then he tends to say next that, they pay Stephen A. Smith a lot of money to be basically the face of ESPN, the company man, the highest paid. And, then he brought up Bradley Beal, who's also not vaccinated, but is allowed to play in every game and hasn't been restricted. Sidebar, that is because since Bradley does not live into any of those locations and he is considered quote unquote a visitor, the mandates wouldn't apply to him. So that's why he's allowed to play and Kyrie Irving isn't. And then Kwame Brown says that, Kyrie Irving is an individual and that most players would not do what Kyrie Irving did, and that he took a stand for something that he believed in and was willing to, lose his money and, lose whatever endorsements and things of that nature to stand for what he, felt was right. And so he said that, Stephen A. Smith is one of the celebrity pit bulls that people put in, to try to destroy black men. And so Kwame Brown calls Kyrie Irving a hero. And he, he hates when people criticize, when people look up, certain people's net worth or look up their contracts and say, oh, he can afford to do that because he made X amount of money. But Kwame Brown basically kind of implied that, you don't know what quote unquote the powers that be are doing with the money when you don't follow the rules. So I found that to be a little bit interesting. And then also, Stephen A. Smith was also saying that there needs to be a company policy to control everything, and that, everybody needs to be required to be vaccinated, have mask mandated and so forth. And, Kwame Brown just kind of, went back and just said, hey, he's like company man for everything and this and that. And so he was saying, where was the smoke for Aaron Rodgers, who also is not vaccinated, that Stephen A. Smith barely laid a peep on him, but had all of this energy and all of this smoke for Kyrie Irving. And then the irony in all of this is Stephen A. Smith actually the other day just announced that he is tested positive for COVID-19 as well. So that's interesting. So essentially, Kwame Brown felt that Kyrie Irving was being singled out because he is the most popular player who was not vaccinated among the NBA players who aren't vaccinated. And he, attracts a lot of the attention. And so therefore they wanted to make an example out of him. And so, and because he also, speaks his mind and does whatever he wants. So, and he said, he commended Kyrie because Kyrie basically stood for something because he didn't want to put something in particular into his body. And, then Kwame Brown was praising the country, how people have died and fought for people's freedom, and that people should still have the opportunity to make their own decisions and, be a voice for all people and this and that. However, for whatever reason, Kwame Brown feels a way that, why people are listening to Stephen A. Smith of all people is not necessarily the best for people because it's everything that goes against freedom is what he's saying. And then he said that First Take is a juggernaut of a show because it has a lot of influence, it has a lot of eyeballs that watch. And but then he also said that ESPN, all they talk about now is essentially the Lakers, and he said the Lakers suck. And he shouted out Carcino for life because Carcino did a detailed video on the Lakers and just how awful they are. And it was so bad that Kwame Brown went back to actually watch the game that Carcino was referencing. But yeah, he basically just said that they don't play defense, defense. They don't play help defense. And Kwame Brown said that if his hip wasn't bad, he probably could be on the team too, and they could just pick and roll all day. So that's how he feels. But I mean, you never know. They just signed Joe Johnson, and Paul Gasol might come back. So hey, with all these players getting COVID-19 and being in the health and safety protocol, you never know, Kwame. If you're willing to play ball and work with the quote unquote the powers that be. And then the only last thing that he basically said was that Stephen A. Smith needed to shut up. And that was the conclusion of Kwame Brown's rant on Stephen A. Smith. So that was all that he said on that. So what are you guys' thoughts? Do you guys agree with what Kwame Brown said about Stephen A. Smith? Do you agree with Stephen A. Smith's stance? Where do you guys stand on this? And so for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for viewing, and I hope you guys come back a second time. And those of you who are back a second time and a third time and a fourth time and so forth, thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for your continued support.